My name's Adele Onyango, and welcome to another episode of Legally Clueless. No, seriously, I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Okay, so we have another random convos. This year, you're eating quite a few of them, and I'm very excited about our guest because, as I said in a couple of podcast episodes before, she and her YouTube helped me get my financial habits to a healthier level. I think one of the first YouTube videos I saw is like what you can invest. I want to say, I can't remember the amount, 5,000 bob, what you can do with 5,000 bob, right? And I remember watching it and being like, okay, this is interesting because as I found out, I'm not a high risk investor. So when you say something like 5,000 bob, I'm like, tell me more. Like that's an amount that doesn't scare me. And so as we work towards wellness and actually as a community, getting our financial wellness right, then it made sense to have personal finance coach, money educator, and commander-in-chief at the Legacy Hub. Susan Wanjiku is here with us.
Thank you, Adele. I'm so glad to be here. I'm really excited for our chat today. Commander-in-chief. I've never even thought of that. I'm like, yes, please. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and we honestly are I know I've said this on our call before, we're very thankful that you came on board because it's something that will benefit our community. We have been talking about like 52-week challenges. I think I started it in 2022 and I flicked out around June.
Happens to the best of us. Trust me.
Life happened, and then also I don't think I chose a channel that was convenient because I was doing it with a particular bank and using their particular savings account, and depositing was so difficult, and thinking about doing that every week. I think by June I was like, hey.
I gave up.
But we did it again last year and I completed it, and I'm doing it again this year. But anyway, so first and foremost, we want to know where your love for finances began. Is this something that was always there, or is it something you picked up along the way?
Wow, mine is such a long story, Adele. I don't even know where to start. Now, I've been reading, I don't know whether you've read Viola Davis's memoir. I'm currently reading it, and she's been talking about like just her story. Yeah, it's called Finding Me. And she's been talking about her story and like how poor they were growing up. Like they would have rats in their bed, and like the rats would actually nibble on their necks, like that level of poverty, right? Interestingly, this is one of the books that I've read that I've really related with on that level of poverty. Yeah, we didn't have rats in our beds. My mom tried. But like I grew up really, really poor, yeah? I'm the daughter of a shopkeeper, yeah, a single mother. And since I was like in class 4, I was selling already on the shop. It was expected. It was a chore, like how you come home, clean dishes, do this, that, and the other. So for me, my mother had a shop. And now by the time we come out of school, now she needs to cook, she needs to organize things. So I would first stay in the shop like in the evening from around 5 to maybe like 7. And then when she's done with whatever she needed to do in the house, now she takes over me, and then now I have to go shower, wash my uniform, do homework, and still sleep on time and wake up early enough to like do the normal morning stuff and go to school. Yeah, and I can't necessarily say that I've had a love for finance. It's just that's what I was exposed to. Yeah, so by the time like I was in class 6, 7, she'd actually go to Ushago, like she'd go to upcountry the whole weekend. I'm running the shop, I'm taking bread, milk, I'm closing the accounts, I'm doing all of that because again, there's also no option of like closing. Also, you're poor.
There's that part.
Yeah, you need money. So obviously by the time I'm finishing primary school and going to high school, and by the time now we're in like form 3 and we need to choose subjects, we're like, okay, so what do I want to do? I don't even think I was exposed to, I can be a doctor, I can be an engineer. Like I always just I knew how to do math, I knew how to count money, coins. And like I would know, okay, this is what we had like a box where we had 2 boxes. So one was, tomorrow I need to pay for milk, bread, queen cakes. So I would know that of all the money I've counted today that we sold, this is how much I'm putting aside for when the people come, vendors tomorrow morning. Sometimes, Adele, the profit would be 50 bob.
Oh my goodness.
Like the whole day after I've taken out whatever we need to pay for maziwa, kesho and whatever, that was 50 bob left. So I used to wonder how my mom would do it, like in terms of like paying rent. Of course, we lived in Zimmerman. Actually, we lived in a Mabati house. It was like 2K. But like you see, 2K looks very affordable until your daily profit is 50 bob.
Yeah, because it's like, where am I getting the rest?
Yeah, so when we were choosing subjects, I knew for a fact I wanted to do something finance. So I wanted to do like BCom. But then my dad was like, you've gotten an A, you can't do BCom. Okay, no hate. No hate, guys. So I ended up doing economics and finance.
Yeah.
And that's just, I mean, I was very clear that I wanted to do something money related. Yeah. So I just started doing, I did the course, finished my first job I got even before I graduated. So I started working in an investment firm because of course now on the side, I also started doing certification called CIFA, Certified Investments and Financial Analysis. I don't even know how I ended up doing it. It was just either that or CPA. And I was like, I know for a fact I'm not an accountant. I hated accounting from like my first year of uni. So I knew I want something finance related, but not accounting, right? So all of this is just, you're not doing it because you're being very well guided. It's just what's there.
That's actually what I wanted to ask. Is like, was it leaning towards finances because there was a general love, or because that's what's there, but that's also what can help at home?
Exactly. Like in my mind, I was like, first of all, what else am I going to do? And then this, like for me, money has always been scarce. It's always been a problem. So like when I thought even of my future, it had to be something that had so much money. In fact, like I have like a vision thingy I've done when I was like 18 and I was like, I want to be a CFO. Because like in my head, CFOs and
they're rolling in the money.
Exactly. They're swimming in money. And like I was going to change my mom's life and my family's life, you know, and all that. So I actually finished school. I get my first job even before graduation. I worked in an investment firm for around 4 years. So like I was right on that route of
to the
CFO, you know? Hey, then 2019, I lost my job, yo.
Oh my goodness, no.
Yeah.
How was that? Because like you know, some of the wellness stuff we do with our resident therapist, Faith, is we talk about losses without funerals. And one of the ones she's listed is loss of a job. And sometimes a job can be identity, it can be a source of income.
Sure.
So it's losses on so many levels. So how did that happen, and how did you navigate 2019 with such a big change?
I love that you guys are talking about loss in general, because I feel like we've grown up just knowing that when someone dies, that's loss, right? But I think job loss, even losing a business, even losing a friendship, like a home, all these things. So for me, it was let me tell you something that, and why I'm so passionate about personal finance right now. Now, Adele, you would think that because I work in an investment firm,
you were investing.
I am helping people manage their portfolios. Like the money that's passing through my hand on a daily basis. In fact, the last 2 years I was managing a money market fund.
Oh my goodness.
So like we would receive money and then have meetings to discuss where we'll invest client money, invest it. So I knew these things existed. But let me tell you, 4.5 years later, at the point I was losing my job, I did not have an account of my own. Yani, like you're there, you have the exposure, you have the knowledge, you have the information. But like, because I was also a junior, like, and actually earned like 40,000 gross. So then on top of that, there's help loans. There is payee, NHIF, NSSF. There's a lot of black tax.
Yeah.
Because remember where I come
from. Yeah.
So by the time I'm done paying all these things, in my mind, I had nothing left. So like, I would just, like, I was like, rich people problems. You guys have money to invest? Good for you. I'll even help you do it. I just don't think it applies to me.
Because it's always been presented as you have to have
a lot of money. And I kid you not, people had a lot of money. Like I managed portfolios of someone who has like 40 million in an MMF. So you're imagining, okay, this is a very low risk asset. If you have 40 million, how much more do you have in like other portfolios, you know? So at that point, I'm losing my job. I had no savings. I had debts. I had Tala, Mshwari, KCB, you name it. Because remember, Mshara itoshi, like my salary is not enough. So by the time it's 20th, it's done.
Yeah.
So what do you do till 30th when you're paid? You take out a mobile loan to just push you. So when my salary comes, I pay these loans.
But end of
and
the
then
month,
I still take. So I had loans. And then, of course, again, because of black tax, I had an inherited loan. We were in like an auction type of situation. And I was like, oh my God, there's nothing even to auction in this house. So I just had the loan transferred onto my paycheck.
Yeah.
So I had loans and I did not have an income now. And I had no savings. At that point in 2019, September, is when like it hit me. What the heck? Now, a lot of us were like, what the heck during COVID?
It before.
Like before COVID,
Yeah.
like already that, like it was just, and then, it wasn't even dignified. It was, we went into work, it was a Tuesday. We worked just like a normal day, and then 3 p.m. we're like, oh, there are departmental meetings. So we just went in. By the time I left job, like my work that day, I didn't have an access card. I'd already handed in the company laptop and I was serving notice from home, and they only just gave us the next month's salary.
So you don't even have enough to
You
organize.
didn't even have time. You know, the
Yeah.
way you're like, okay, I know I'm going to lose my job in like a month. They've
Yeah.
given us notice, so let me jipanga. None. Like you went in to work just a normal day. And then when you come out, you're not employed, right? So like, that's the first day I thought to myself, my God, I've been hearing these things for emergency funds.
Yeah.
I've been hearing save, invest, blah, blah, blah. And you're just thinking, I'm too young for this to ever,
Yeah.
like I used to think retrenchments only happen to like much more advanced people in age. You've done your career, like you've had your whole life. Then I also thought, I'm too cheap to fire. People fire people who are very, okay, you
Like,
pay
what are
them
you
too
saving
much.
by
Hey,
firing
I'm like,
me?
what are you saving by? That's the first time I think in my adulthood I had a consciousness of personal finance. You see, it's all fun and games until it happens, like it hits too close home. Like, it's not that I didn't know MMFs exist, or that I can save, invest, or that I should have an emergency fund, or that I shouldn't accumulate debt. I knew all those things, but we always just think, nta manage
Next month.
I'll
when I
manage.
get my next job.
Exactly.
That's paying more.
I'll figure all these things out. So like personal finance becomes an awareness now. So you see, I find that a lot of us go through adulthood, but like money is just, it comes, it goes.
Yeah.
Especially like freelancers. Like now that I'm a freelancer, I think I've learned to literally survive on nothing and survive with a lot. Because like 1 month you have deals, money, like the money is coming in, and then next month you're like, hey, and this is what my money looks like. So I just got an awareness of personal finance, but personal finance coaching didn't now happen up until COVID around April. So I've lost my job 2019 around September, and then now I'm sad. I take like 3 weeks to just cry, hate life, hate God,
Shock,
hate everyone. First of all, and then no one talks about the shame. You didn't do anything wrong, like they were just cutting down on expenses. But like I think I might have hidden in my house for like a month. Like there are people who still didn't know, and they're like, oh, how's job? I'm like, work is good. And I'm not even comfortable enough to say I was fired. And sometimes you think people will think you are not good at your job, you are not good enough. What did you do?
And I think it's because we have an unhealthy attachment in terms of our identity to our jobs. So who we are isn't who we are. It's what we do.
It's what we do. In fact, you've never noticed that if someone meets you and they're like, hey, Adele, tell me a bit about yourself. I'm like, hey, I'm an investment advisor.
Yes.
We didn't ask you what you do.
Yeah. No, who are you? You.
So you see, I knew I had the papers, the years of experience. And so I was like, okay, you know what? Let me just chill. I'll start applying for jobs. And I knew worst case scenario, 2020, I'd have already gotten somewhere. And then the worst, as in, do you ever think before COVID, had anyone ever told you that such a thing as a global pandemic can exist?
I don't even think we used the word pandemic in our vocabulary ever.
Like probably when you're watching those apocalyptic movies and they're like, oh, okay, interesting.
Looks bad. Can't relate.
Oh my goodness. Like now companies are shutting down. People are going home. Layoffs. Like my partner had to take a 50% cut on his salary. And then now you're home. You're also jobless. So you're looking at each other like, what's going on?
Oh my goodness.
So I feel like my personal finance coaching business. So around that time, I was just kind of like, I hate sitting still. So I had applied for jobs. Obviously, you get so many regrets.
At least they were courteous enough to say regrets.
Some of them.
Some just ghosts.
I don't know what's up. I don't know whether it's just Kenya. But like, I don't know why recruiters never get back to people. Like, just tell me I didn't make the cut instead of like I have to keep refreshing my email to see if you guys got back to me, and you guys already hired, you know. So one of these days I'm just seated there, and like one of my friends was in a chama, so he tells my partner, hey, this group has raised an X amount of money and they want to know where they can invest. So your wife works at your wife works at an investment company. So of course I'd already left work. But no, we're not talking about that. He's like, yeah, I think it can help you guys. So these guys had met for a chama meeting. It was like a Sunday afternoon. So I was just like, okay, fine, I'll help you guys out. I mean, what else are you doing? You're not even working. It wasn't a charged thing. I was just like, I mean, to me, that information is bread and butter because you've been doing investing for like 4 years now. So you know, you're like, okay, this is how bonds work. What are you guys looking for? Is it passive income? Is it growing it? So I knew. So I went Sunday afternoon, did a training, and then, I mean, we're just supposed to wrap up and leave. I mean, there are friends of friends. And then when I'm leaving, someone hands me an envelope, and then they're like, thank you so much. It was so insightful. Adele, that's the day I got the idea. Like, I was like, wait, you're willing to pay
for this knowledge?
Are you serious? Like, that wasn't, you know, when something is common sense to you, you think it's common sense to everyone else. So like I went home and I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. So this means I can, so it wasn't like personal finance coaching first. It was, I can help chamas figure out like what to do with the bulk money that they have. So that's when I had a Huawei phone, and I just decided, okay, I need people to know that I can do this. So I just started creating, then it was IGTV. Reels weren't even there. Like,
my goodness.
Yeah, it was IGTV. So I just decided I'll be doing like 5-minute Friday videos to like, okay, hi guys, this is how you can choose a bank. If you want to take out loans, this is how you should look for the best like credit terms, blah, blah, blah. So I called it Finance Friday. And the rest is history. I mean, I just kind of like started doing the videos, and then to my dismay, the response and the hunger for that information and the knowledge is what like made me think, okay, there's definitely a business opportunity there. It definitely wasn't something I was thinking I'm gonna now do like full time. I feel like it was also luck because COVID was happening, and then now when you talk about an emergency fund, people relate on such a personal level because people had lost jobs.
They were going through what you went through in September.
Right.
And so now you had some sort of insights. You see how like, I never glorify struggle because I'm always like, surely there are easier ways to learn lessons. But in this, you can see the silver lining of the struggle because now you could relate with your audience.
In fact, in retrospect, I always tell my friends that the best thing that happened to me was losing that job. Because, I mean, even my earning potential and the capacity, I mean, I was so afraid to quit. I'm not a quitter. Remember, I have a scarcity mindset at that time. I'm poor. I'm trying to like support people back at home. So telling me to quit is like, you're very privileged to even have the ability to entertain the thought of quitting, right? So I guess I just had to be pushed out for me to think out of the box and be like, and this is something I always tell people when we're talking about like budgeting and personal finance. One of the things people tell me is where I'm employed, I earn so little and there's nothing else I can do. And I think when you come out of the employment box mentally, not necessarily like quitting your job, but when you think bigger than what am I doing for this employer, but in other words, what's my skill set? What am I knowledgeable about? What's my gift? I'm a very good orator. I'm confident in how I speak. So I just kind of like combine that with the fact that I have some finance knowledge. And I was like, I think I can practice some delivery. Obviously, the moment I also realized, I think we also need to be quick on identifying opportunities and then investing, because the moment I noticed, okay, this is a business, I went online and then I realized like in the Western countries there's so many personal finance coaches and so many academies where you can get like a coaching certification. So for those 6 months in 2020, I mean, we are home, we are baking banana bread
and everything is virtual.
Everything is virtual. So I took my coaching certification. I niched down to like personal finance and life coaching. So I find that when an opportunity presents itself, in that moment when you have the motivation, because motivation is a feeling, it wears out. So before it wears out, you need to like do something, like do something about it at that particular point. So like it was just luck, like that people are going through this. I've also kind of like identified an opportunity here and grabbed it. I was just like, this has got to work. So it was supposed to be my side hustle. When companies opened, I would still apply for jobs, continue on my journey to become CFO.
Yeah. Enroll in the money.
Yeah, exactly. And then now maybe coach on the side.
Yeah.
But my God, I've had amazing clients.
Yeah.
Personal clients, corporate clients, groups, so many diaspora Kenyans. At some point in 2022, I was just like, okay, I'm officially unemployable.
Yeah.
So let me just like put all my eggs in this one basket for now and just kind of like hone in on this business, on this skill, on this particular opportunity, because there's a gap in the market, right, for it. So that's how I started. When I sit with a client who's in debt, my God, you don't even have to explain it to me. I get it so much. Because my 2020 to 2020, towards mid 2022, were my debt freedom years.
Yeah.
As I told you, when I left work, I also left with debt.
Yeah.
And I didn't have an emergency fund. So starting from scratch. Now someone would be like, so where did the money come from? Like, did the business give you money? I coached for free for the first 6 months. And while I was coaching at night, I was doing online writing gigs on Upwork. And there's a lady I will never forget. I keep mentioning Leah everywhere I go. She gave me work because I kept telling her, I just need, my bills don't care that I don't have a job.
Yeah.
So I needed to just pay my bare minimums. Now, if you've done writing jobs, you know that you'll probably be up at night.
Yeah.
So I was up at night, and then during the day, I'm taking coaching calls for free, obviously, because you have to build proof of concept.
Yeah.
Someone will be like, so who have you ever coached before? And I've never coached anyone.
Yeah. And how
I'm
will
just
this
guaranteeing.
work?
I'm just guaranteeing you that when you come for a
Just
session,
believe in me.
just believe in me. So, and that's another thing. I mean, business, you have to be strategic. So I wasn't doing it for nothing. I was doing it for results and testimonials. The more people I coached for free, and the more people, I mean, they were willing to come onto my platform on a live or on something and say, yo, when I started working with Susan, this is where I was and this is where I'm at. So she may not have paid me, but she gave me clout.
Yeah.
Like people saw actual real people who have worked with me and gotten results. So I had a bunch of 10 people that I coached.
Yeah.
So 2 had a debt issue. Others wanted to start a portfolio. There was people we were working on with things like money mindset, boundaries with family, black tax, financial abuse in like a marriage setting, stuff like that. In fact, even just for myself, to prove to myself that I can do it. You know, it's one thing to know, okay, yeah, I can coach people.
And then all the rubber hits the road.
Exactly. Coaching is about getting people results.
Yeah, and transforming.
Right. So I coached for free, but then I got testimonials and I got foot soldiers.
Yeah.
So you see someone meets their auntie who's like in debt. They're like, hey, there's this lady. You need
talk
to talk to her.
I was actually going to say word of mouth is
word
also
of mouth
so
is
powerful.
amazing. Exactly.
And, you know, it's so... Like, I could hug you because, no, seriously.
Yeah.
Because I feel like even the content you were doing and hearing the topics you were coaching people on, it's only came to me probably in my 30s how emotional finances are.
Yep. There's a book I read and I recommend this book to everyone. It's the best, and I've read so many personal finance books. It's the best book I've ever read to date. It's called The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. I feel like that book explained myself to me. You know, the way you're like, I mean, and it's every one of us. How many times, Adele, have you decided it's like tomorrow is going to be fast, let's say, It's the beginning of the month. You're like, my life has changed. I'm going to budget and I'm not going to eat takeout. New month, new me. And then on the 5th, that's as far as you can go.
You're like,
you're just like
next month.
Yeah. Or Mondays. It's always either Monday,
a new month.
A new month before you clown for the new year, you know?
Yeah.
It never used to make sense to me. So I would try and budget outside of that. Like I would try to make money work for me out of like the procrastination, the lying to myself, the doing a budget I cannot stick to, the impulse buying, the impulse spending. But one of the things, I mean, even in my coaching, I never, ever, ever separate money from emotions. It's impossible. You know why? Your success with money is only 20% reliant on your head knowledge. And let me prove that to you. We all know we should save and invest, but do we? We know we shouldn't take bad debt. In fact, we know what bad debt is, but we justify bad debt. We're like, no, this was actually a really good investment. Like this microwave, like, you know?
Yeah.
We are like, I will not take out this loan. Or I will not, if my brother calls me to blackmail me anymore about money, I'll just tell him no. And then when he calls you, you freeze. You can't say no, right?
Yeah.
So you've tried, like head knowledge is knowing 50, 30, 20 budgeting rule.
Yeah.
It is knowing good debt versus bad debt.
Yeah.
It is knowing I should have a say. I shouldn't spend everything I make. I should
Yeah.
save some. Even if you don't know the percentage, at least you know you should save some. That only contributes to 20% of your success. 80% of it is your behavior with money and your money mindset.
Yeah.
Because it's not enough to know I should budget 50, 30, 20. That's 20%. Now, 80% of it is looking at my spending triggers. For instance, the reason why my bare minimum, or rather my needs, exceed the 50% is because I tend to impulse spend on, say, clothes.
Yeah.
Or like I had very bad skin growing up. So I was a product junkie. So I would like buy anything that is being marketed this week that cures acne. I'm buying. I've tried it, right? Someone else would be, I hang out with my friends. Every Friday, I know I say I'll stay home. But
I'm
out.
Yeah.
Maybe for you, it's even just saying no to family or whatever. Like you have spending triggers. In fact, I keep telling people, every time someone comes to me with a budgeting issue, I'm not even gonna start with the budget, because the budget is the list of your worries. It's just a tool. We need to figure out what my spending triggers are. So you see, we've been taught to shy off from, let's say, including something like Pilates in your budget. It looks like a luxury, but I'm like, whether I include it in my budget or not, I'm gonna spend on it. If I value game nights and drinks with my friends every Friday, the way budgeting was taught to us, it was that's unnecessary.
Yeah. So you don't put it there, but you
don't
will
put it
spend,
there, but then you see it's so emotional because mentally you've told yourself this is not a necessity.
Yeah.
But then budgeting is ideally just telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went.
Yeah.
It's pretty much, I always tell people, if the word budgeting spooks you, because so many people hear budgeting and like, now I know I won't enjoy my money. This woman is about to tell me to just suffer and eat ugali, you know? Budgeting is just an intentional spending plan. What are you intentional about? You could put anything from your facials to your massages to money you want to give to charity to that street kids you pass every day and you like to give 50 bob or whatever. Anything can fall on your budget. And then, so you grow up, like for me, I grew up very like scarcity mentality wired. Also, you do not want to let go. So no wonder, again, even with all the information I gained working in an investment firm, it was all fun and games as long as it wasn't my money. Because I'm like, you guys have the privilege to invest and lose it if at all. But like, I can't. I can't lose money. So I'd rather have it in my bank account or in my M-Shwari where I'm seeing it.
Every day.
Every day.
Yeah.
In fact, I would keep refreshing to confirm.
I used to be that
The anxiety. Oh my God. No one talks about the anxiety of like people who fear losing money. And you might fear either because for me it was childhood trauma, but I've also worked with people who didn't have it as children, but like you had a really terrible experience as an adult. You were conned, you lost money in a Ponzi scheme or whatever. No one just is scared of losing money for nothing. From nowhere. So that's person A. That's what like poverty did to me. And then there's person B here who's like, I will show umaskini. Let me tell you, this person is like, they don't even have rent. It will go down. And it must go down because I can't have lived this life when I was young. And then now that I'm in control of my own life, I'm also still lacking. You get? So both of these people, let me tell you, none is better than the other. You both need to heal your money trauma because you see, money is facts. Let me tell you, it's facts, it's numbers. But then sadly, our emotions come in.
We arrive with
our emotions. So the facts will always remain the same. You will still always have to save. For the people who are afraid of investing, the fact still remains, you can never save your way to wealth. So the sooner you heal your fear of investing, the better for you. But like that fact will never change. So it's not even about like, do I know these money principles? It's about what are my limiting beliefs?
What's holding me back?
And one of the most powerful ways I have found, for me, it's not even like, oh, okay, you can go to therapy and talk about it. It helps. But like for me, I healed my financial trauma by educating myself. You fear what you don't understand.
True.
I had to first of all start dealing with, so why didn't I invest all these years?
Yeah.
I had the platform, I had the...
And you were doing it. Yeah,
I was actually even doing it for other people. So why didn't I do it? I was like, I'm afraid to lose money. So you start questioning your beliefs.
Yeah.
But is it actually true that if I put money in this XYZ platform, I will actually lose it?
Money.
So you actually, I realized that financial literacy in itself, even as I was working to teach other people, I had to also get it for my own self to understand that these things I'm afraid of, it's because I don't understand them. There is no such thing as little money. That idea in itself got me out of debt, because when I started paying off my debt, my business was not making what I would term as enough to get me to debt freedom. But I'm telling you, every 500, every 1,000, every 5K, every whatever it is that I got, those 2 years were dedicated to debt freedom. And I was like, I'm getting out of debt. Whether this month I make 10,000 or 100,000, I'm paying something towards that debt every month, even if it's 500. The day I cleared my debt, like now that following month, in fact, I was even posting my journey on like Instagram.
Yeah.
So the very last loan I paid was Help. So I even remember putting up a screenshot and telling guys, oh my God, like
It's done.
It's done. And I had a Sacco loan, the mobile loans, I had, and then now I wrapped up with Help, because Help didn't have pressure. They were not like calling me and threatening me like mobile.
Or like your contact.
Like Tala.
Do you know Suzanne?
Do you know Suzanne? It was so bad. It was so scary and anxiety inducing, Let me tell you, the following month, Adele, I had, and I kid you not, I had so much money that it was, wait, what? This is how much debt was dragging me down. Like, you don't see it when you're in it. When you're in debt, you don't see it. You don't,
because you've just focused on getting out.
Yeah. You don't, and then you also don't see the pressure on your income or on your paycheck. You're just like, let me just take that. Yeah, I can pay it, because you're looking at your salary. You're like, okay, yeah, I can manage to pay this. And at that point, up until that point, I hadn't thought saving, investing would ever be a reality for me. At that point, when I became debt free,
it was an option.
It now made sense. I was like, actually, I have money to open that pension
that money
fund.
that was going to the debts.
Yeah, I have money. I had like 20 G's I've taken care of everything, and I still have 20 G's left.
Yeah.
You get. So now, and this is one of the reasons why no matter how many people talk to us and they say, oh, you can do this, you can do that, it doesn't make sense to you, because out of your paycheck, like 60% of it, first of all, is going to finance a lifestyle on debt.
Yeah.
Now imagine if you're not in debt. That 60K would go to your dreams, your ambitions, your passions, wealth creation. So these things become a reality when you first of all get rid of like what the cancer was.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm telling you, when people come to me with debt and they tell me, I can't save, I can't invest, my God, I totally get it.
Yeah.
There are things you can do while you're in debt, right? It's either like you triple your salary or you come out of the debt first.
Yeah.
But otherwise, like, you can't be able to like save, invest. Do you know at least up to 70% of Kenyans, formerly employed Kenyans today, earn less than 50,000. You see that mindset you have for, I must have a lot of money, and these people are educating kids. They are buying shambas in Ruiru.
Yeah.
They're even building their homes
at that
point,
income,
right? At that income level. And so it's always good to remember that it's not about how much you earn.
Yeah.
It's what you do with what you have.
And these are all the things you're going to be speaking about at our wellness talk on the 10th of February. In the show notes, we'll put a link to where you can get your tickets there. 1,000 Bob. We made it a webinar so that wherever you are, you can just tune in and we can start getting our wellness financially right. I want you, before we wrap things up, to talk a bit about black tax and what you'll be covering during the wellness talk specifically for that.
Oh, black tax. That has been my life, I love talking about black tax, and one of the things we'll be handling during the webinar is how do you even deal with it, because I love to be very honest with people. Much as we want to abolish black tax and be like, we should never pay black tax ever, there are unique situations that some people find themselves in that it is that black tax is a necessity. You're not enabling anyone, you're not like, people are not being rude or whatever, or just using you. It is, if I don't do this, my sister is not going to go to school. So one of the things we'll be dealing with in the webinar is, one, how to evaluate your black tax, and to differentiate between what is necessary and what is enabling. So with enabling, we'll be talking about just some tips around how you can draw boundaries, how you can say no. There are ways to go around black tax that is not always burning bridges, but sometimes
a bridge must be burned.
A bridge must be burned. But mostly for the people who find themselves in a situation where it's necessary, we'll be learning how to budget and to include that as part of your spending plan, other than burying our heads under the sand and hoping, oh my God, I hope this month they don't call or they don't ask me. How can you go around budgeting and planning for that thing? Part of it is having, like for me, one of the things I had to do was to have, I always say, make noise where it matters. Don't complain to your friends and on social media that your family are doing this, that, and the other, but you've never even had
And
that conversation with them, and you're not making noise where it matters. So one of the things I had to do was to sit down with the people I'm assisting and communicate about my limits. I can't go past this point.
Yeah.
So I need you guys, like, manage their expectations, communicate what you can and cannot do. And then, and this is the hardest bit, don't violate your own boundary. So if you say, I can only just send 10K every month, do not send 10,500 at any given point. The moment you violate your own boundary, you've taught them something.
Yeah.
If she says 10,
she means 15.
She doesn't.
Yeah.
She's not serious about it. So those are some of the things we'll be talking about. How to budget, but also, because black tax is very emotional, how to improve on your emotional intelligence on dealing with family, relatives, siblings, and also identifying what is enabling and what is helping. There's a very big difference.
That is so important, because even in terms of like boundary work, I read up on financial boundaries and just always, even outside of black tax, when there's something happening in the family, you should already have a percent, like an amount.
Yeah.
That's your boundary. And so you quickly commit to that
and
amount.
Communicate and actually communicate it, because I've also found that most of our parents don't even know we are bothered and struggling because you've never said it. You've actually never, and then also you're afraid of, and then we also have the guilt. I feel like African kids have the guilt of, they took me to school, they wore torn shoes to take me to school, and now you feel like very indebted to a point. And I like to remind people, you can't support your family when you can't support yourself. So if you're getting into debt and messing up your finances to support your family, you're shooting yourself in the foot. It's not sustainable. The day you have nothing, they're also in trouble. So sometimes no's are powerful. I'm saying no to you and I know you're angry,
but it's also for your own good.
It's for your own good. Exactly. It's I think you need to have a level of maturity and just like what do I call it? It's you're affirmed in yourself as a person, because like this teacher who used to tell me, no is a sign of maturity. If you find that you can't say no, there are underlying issues that have nothing to do with money that you need to work on, because it should, again, as I said, it should be allowed in your family, in your friendship circles, for you to say, no, I can't. I just can't this month.
So that's wonderful, because black tax is something that weighs down quite a few people and it's very emotional. So we're going to look at, on the 10th, budgeting. We're going to look at black tax, investing. Where do I start? Because there's also so much jargon. I remember when investing was first introduced to me, I was only being shown high risk investments. Yet I am someone who is
like you don't even want to hear risk at all.
I'm just like, how? Like, why do you want me to put, and then I can't see my money for how long? No, thank you. So where can you start? And talking about resources, budgeting, especially for freelancers. So those of us who, you're not getting money the way employed people do. And I also liked that we're going to talk about breaking free from debt, something that Susan has really walked the journey with. So in closing, what would you leave someone who maybe has a fear of starting to confront the emotions that, and that's another thing we're going to look at, money trauma. So figuring out where your money trauma comes from. What would you tell somebody who wants to do better money-wise, but there's a fear that comes with it. There's not true myths that you're told, like if you want to invest, you have to have millions. So if you don't have millions, you're like, well, I guess I just need to survive until I get the millions. Someone who wants to start, in their heart, they want to, but there's so much shame. You can't openly talk about money. What would you tell them?
Adele, I'm very big on baby steps. Let me tell you. I feel like everything that's ever been scary, inaccessible, just feeling like it's out of my league that I've done, like I've managed to do, I did because I identified my next best small step. So at this point, if I was that person and I'm looking at my finances, I would want to identify what is a simple baby step that I can start with immediately. I have this guide that guides just my life generally, and I say, think big, but start small and start now. One of the reasons we are still behind, most of us, is because we think big and then we stop there. When you think big, you get scared. Anyone who's ever thought big, I mean, all my big ideas, I'm even embarrassed to share that with even the people closest to me, because you sound delusional and you sound like, let's see. When you think big, it's gonna get scary. And that's normal. We need to also normalize feeling uncomfortable. Like I've always told people, just because you feel uncomfortable about something doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. Now, that's where the start small, but start now comes in. Because when we think big and we get scared, we're like, let me just wait for a better pay. Let me just wait for when my business starts giving me money. So 2023 ends, 2024 will end. 2025, you'll still be setting the same goal that you set in 2023. But like when you're like, okay, how can I, where can I start? Start small, but start now. The most important thing is to start now. So as simple, like one of the things that I always start as a baby step. I've always told people, you underestimate how powerful it is to know where your money goes. Maybe you've never budgeted before. Don't even start by getting fancy Excel sheets or apps. Just track for this month. That's a very good baby step. When you track your spending and you're like, okay, I spent 30 Gs on entertainment. My food and shopping came to 12,000 or 15 or 50,000. I gave away this much. When you have an understanding of where your money goes, you're able to even see the spending loopholes. No one even needs to tell you where the problem is, because you're like, okay, do I have 40,000 for enjoyment? I'm not so sure. For month 2, a baby step would be to pick one of those categories and just kind of like pace yourself on spending on it. So you're like, according to my tracking, last month was 40 Gs on entertainment. I definitely know that's madness. So what would I want to work with that is realistic? Maybe you say, this month, I'm going to bring that down to 30. Maybe even your target is to bring it down to 15. But you don't go cold turkey on money. You just decide, okay, I'm going to bring it down to 30. And then just work. The other month, if you're able to just even bring it down to 35, please pat yourself on the back. Baby steps. We are rewarding every progress. You understand? I found that when you work like that, you see in that process of tracking your expenses, learning how to reallocate your money and be like, okay, let me remove this here. Let me spend more here. Let me cut down on this so that I can pay off this debt. Or let me reduce on this drinks and game nights and whatever so that I can probably start a money market fund and be put in 2K there. I'm not going to do a lot. I'm just going to do 2K. Baby steps. If you do baby steps in 6 months, the progress you'll have made will be bigger and more impactful than the progress you're hoping to make in the next 4 years when your employer decides you're worth of a salary raise. You understand? Exactly. So that's what I would say. Baby steps make all the difference all the time. So think big, but start small and start now.
Man, thank you so much, Susan. And in the show notes, we're going to put links to Susan's platform so you can engage with her content and learn, because that can help settle your fears once you start countering that with knowledge. And also how, if you're interested in her coaching you, that can be something that you can look into as well. On the 10th of February, let's meet. There's a link in the show notes. Grab your tickets and let's start making our money work for us this year.
Amen.
That's it for this episode of Legally Clueless. You can share this podcast with your friends. You can keep it for yourself. I'm not judging. Just make sure you're here next week for the next episode.